Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining today. This is your host Nino, and in today's episode, I am once again inviting you to these Android watches available all across the web under different brand names and with slight modifications, but still generally speaking, forming the same type of device running Android 4.4. Now, they are easily enough usable for kids. You're having some favorites here on the left side where you can say what you would like that the kids are accessing first. I have just kept it to contact and this WeChat option through which they could conduct audio as well as video calls. And if you go to the right of the main screen, there you are seeing the setup of various other programs that are installed. So far so good. In a previous episode I already made clear that here on the settings, if you go to clear tools, a rather unexpected option, then you will find here the file explorer through which you can access the phone's internal memory. And if you connect these watches to your main computer with a USB cable, then you can equally access that internal memory. And you can place there APK files, that is Android program files, inside the phone's memory, and then you can tap them and install them. And I have done that with a couple of programs, which I am showing also in a different video as well as here. And what I have presently managed to solve in a not exactly very user-friendly way is the question of how can these phones communicate with each other. There are a couple of ingrained programs on these devices, but due to the antique version of Android 4.4, you cannot install anything like Signal or WhatsApp and so on and so forth. You do have this WeChat feature that you could use in order to talk to someone. Unfortunately, doing so, you can only select whether you would like to send a voice message or some smiley, or whether you would like to begin a video call, but you cannot actually chat. And therefore, I was looking for some solution that would work most autonomously, if possible, on this old version of Android. And lo and behold, there is in fact a version of Netcat. In fact, there are several variants of Netcat. I picked this one with the cat shadow and the little NC inside the logo as the version of choice for those watches. Now, what can we do with Netcat? We could certainly connect to some sort of central server. If this central server would be channeling all incoming connections on one port to all incoming connections on another port, then we would be already having a direct Netcat connection between the two watches. But how about doing things even more immediate? How about having the one clock directly connect via Netcat to the other clock? And that, of course, is completely possible. Watch, I mean, not clock. So, to this end, one could turn on Netcat and put it in listener mode. There's but one trouble: which IP address to use. Commonly, phone providers are not permitting your device to be externally accessible, and I shall assume that your device is behind NAT just like these devices are. However, devices which are on the same provider's network commonly can see each other, very much like machines behind your home router. They are not accessible from the outside, but yes, you can see each other. Given that normally family members will be within the same network, it is a safe enough assumption to guess that they actually might see each other that way. The question is only, how will they do that? And to that end, I already installed an app called ConnectBot. This is a rather well-known application in order to establish SSH and Telnet connections, but it of course also does allow local connections. And here I created such a local connection. I have called it N for netcfg, as I have set it up that way that in its startup, if you go here to edit host, it will be running the netcfg command of Android, which is nothing else than a command to demonstrate its network configuration and show us its IP address. So if we go down here, you see what it does is set the prompt simply to a $sign and nothing further. Alias N for being netcfg. Let the whole thing sleep for 1 second and then actually run netcfg. I have discovered that if you do not let it sleep for 1 second, then somehow netcfg does not manage to pick up the IP address and shows as if there isn't any. So tapping on that, everything already happened. Tapping down here to use the back button of sorts, and then scrolling up, we are seeing that this phone has an IP address of 10.181.157.187. That's lovely. Well, let's say that the one person can communicate with the other person in order to learn of that circumstance. A phone call or whatever else might be in order, and then you would know what IP address your partner is having. So here, starting Netcat for Android, I can already prepare, though not yet trigger, the exact Netcat listeners. So you can see that here the typing experience is absolutely abysmal. Like, it's really good for the small screen, but the small screen itself, well, I will not get rid of that, I assume. So what were we having? 10, 181, 157, 187. And we shall assume that this will be on some port, let's say 8888. Okay, so if I now press enter on this phone, it will try to reach that IP address and connect to some Netcat listener on port 8888. Let's have then a look on this phone. So given that we now already have the IP address, we need the ConnectBot for nothing else, we will just simply start Netcat for Android, and all we will do here is actually set up a listener. So that is going to be NC space symbol or number, symbol maybe. Okay, let me do that. So here is our command, Netcat listen on port 8888. Very lovely. So we're then triggering that. And now it is waiting for a connection. Now we can actually let that phone connect. Yay, and then let's say here's something like hello. And the other phone has indeed received a hello. as you can see. We could reply equally and say hi back. So hi back has been issued and has indeed been received. So that way, with nothing but Netcat in order to communicate and simply using ConnectBot in order to determine the IP address in question, you can establish a sort of primitive communication service between such phones. I'm not saying this is the most user-friendly solution, but it is a solution. And I therefore hope you enjoyed today's episode. And I hope to greet you soon again for further adventures. If not a subscriber yet, it would be very friendly of you to consider joining our nice little club. Until we meet again, I wish you a wonderful time. Thank you for watching. And from me, goodbye.